to offer public comment, but throw up your hand if I missed you. And now we'll move on to Agenda Bill 23-028. Awarding Purcell Painting and Coating the City Hall Stairs Repair Public Works Contract. Who's going to tell us about this one?
Patrick is, and Councilperson Johnson has joined us.
Fantastic.
All right. Evening, Mayor and council members. As you pointed out, I am bringing forth Agenda Bill 23-028, which is awarding Purcell Paintings and Coatings the award for the City Hall stairs repair. I have a brief presentation that I will share my screen. Let me figure out how to do that. Perfect. And come on, there we go. All right. So if you aren't aware or haven't been to the back entryway of the City Hall, the stairs back there are in dire need of repair. They are just falling apart, and it's just a matter of time before the corrosive de-icers just destroy the steel completely, and we'd have to tear the whole thing down and rebuild it. So this contract is going to be removing the remaining paint, demoing and repouring the concrete stairs and landings, replacing any failed steel plates, nuts, and the cable system, and then it's going to be prime sealing and top coating all the steel, and installing a new snow melt system in the concrete stairs and landings to prevent the use of the corrosive de-icers in the future, so this doesn't happen in 10 years' time. So next one is just a picture of, again, the current stairs, and then an example of what the snow melt system is going to be in. And so then finally, this went out to bid last summer, and we didn't get any bids, unfortunately. So I reached out to Purcell Paintings and Coatings, their qualified contractor. We've worked with them before, to see if they would be interested in the work. They expressed interest. And there was a lot of back and forth, particularly about getting the design for that snow melt system. But we got them on board. They agreed to do the work for $399,000 and $990, and that's after tax. Meanwhile, the engineer's estimate was $369,000, and so we are moving to approve them as a qualified contractor for this work.
When was that estimate made?
Last summer.
Last summer?
Yep.
Man, I remember my first house was $239,000. This just seems like so much money for stairs. You know, and electric stairs that don't go up and down seem, okay.
It melts ice, though.
Councilman Holloway, you got anything?
I guess a couple of questions. So in essence, we went out to bid, received no bids.
Yep, and I also should point out that I did reach out to a bunch of welders, painters, general contractors to bid on the project, and nobody was interested.
Okay, so then, Bob, what allows us to not do a bid?
The statute.
The statute allows us to.
The statute specifically says, I don't know if anybody's listening online, but that if we go out for bids and get no bidders, that we're then authorized to negotiate a contract.
Okay.
I think we've done that
Yeah.
on one occasion over the last 4 or 5 years that I can remember.
Okay. So, original engineering estimate was $369,000. You're at $399,000 some odd cents. Understand there was something close to $1 million set aside for facilities. We've encumbered.
We have, yeah, sorry, I should have pointed that out. We've 960,000
Yeah.
for facilities, and so far this is really the first encumbrance. I'll have another one in a couple weeks for you guys, but so far this is the first encumbrance.
There is another one coming?
Yeah, so that's for the fire station boiler.
Boiler for about 250.
We already got the bids for that one. Bids were 243. Make it 260.
And there was a outstanding contract value of 23.
20.
So my other question is, all that is backward-looking statements. Forward-looking, what other projects constituted that $960,000? And is there any concern that we will breach that $960,000 with the other projects to come?
So the other projects on the docket for that are the fire station boiler. As I mentioned, we already got the bids for that, 260,000. And then the remaining one is what we're calling the City Hall Safety Plan. It's just making the City Hall a little bit more, how to phrase it?
Secure.
Secure. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Is that anticipated to cost more than $300,000?
At the moment, no. That one is hard to judge, where there's a lot of taking or leaving something, and I don't
So it
have.
sounds like in answer to Councilman Holloway's question, there is the danger of breaching that 960.
There's a danger of it. At the moment, I'm not expecting it, but
Right, but it's a long moment that goes through next year, right?
yes. But those are the only projects that are really pulling from these funds, including next year.
So, two priority projects, back stairs, fire station boiler. We're getting them off the docket first. We have an architect engaged to work on a litany of projects here at City Hall. We're gonna get the design and engineering for them done. We'll be able to check some of the higher priority security items off the list. But at that point, we probably will come back and have a discussion like, these are the other things we'd like to do at City Hall. Do you want to wait for the next biennium to do it? Do we want to try to fund money at that point? But as far as the have to get dones, they are getting done. And then the high priority want tos are getting done. It's the really nice to get done that we may or may not be able to do this biennium. We may need to wait till next one.
Is Councilman Johnson hearing us at this point?
His hand is up.
Yeah, okay. Councilman Johnson.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist with a tinfoil hat, but when I see a lot of nines in an estimate, I start to get a little bit suspicious. So I'm just wondering, to what degree does this feel like a number that is accurate versus it's really going to be more like 415, but they didn't want to have a 4 there, so they just kind of rounded way down to stay under 400 to make the price look a little bit better.
That's a good point. I will say that before Purcell, they had quoted $260-something thousand without the snow melt system, and then the snow melting system is costing an additional 110, I think, is what it came to, and that's from a electrical subcontractor, and then that brought us to 360 some odd thousand, and then tax was added, and it just coincidentally brought us to 399. So I would say it's a total coincidence that that's where we ended up.
Okay, I believe you guys.
Mike, or Mr.
But
Chandler?
please keep in mind, we are dealing with a situation where we are going to be exposing hidden work to work on it. So there's no telling what we're going to find when the concrete gets off there. We don't believe the corrosion is so bad that we're going to need to come back and have a different conversation, but it's possible that corrosion has gotten through those cracked and attacked on both sides of that metal, and we have a much different product. Until you do the demo and expose everything and really see what you got, we're going off best estimates.
All right, fair enough.
He's got his book, he's ready to go.
My turn.
So I just want to add to the conversation. Basically, we had adopted the CIP in August of last year. After that time frame, we kind of came up with a plan regarding security infrastructure here at City Hall. That $207,000 that we had basically estimated as the cost of that security infrastructure upgrade at City Hall was then placed in the facilities maintenance fund basically, and so wasn't incorporated as part of the CIP overall. So the number that you're looking at here in terms of this $960,000 is just for the CIP alone. It doesn't include the $207,000 that we had set aside in that facilities maintenance fund basically for that security infrastructure here at City Hall. So that's not a component of this $960,000 that you see listed.
That's valuable information.
Well, I'm missing something then. So the estimate for the fire station and the stairs, at least there's one other thing for $24,000. The original estimate was $960,000,
So.
and we're coming 536 under. That's great, but I'm.
I know. No, let me go to the list. So in essence, we're always going to have a list of things that we're probably going to need to complete on a biennium basis. We're really trying to figure out how much money we need to set aside, right, to handle all of those maintenance items. And some of those maintenance items are going to come up during the progression of the 2-year period as well. So we have to keep that in mind. But if I go to the specific CIP page, we have a description provided under the facilities maintenance fund. And so I'm just going to read that out. I included that as
Got it as
by
an
stop
attachment.
sharing. It's in there.
Yeah, I saw that.
As soon as I find it. A lot of pages in here.
Where'd you put that, Patrick?
So it describes, over the next biennium, the city intends to cover and or rehabilitate the city back stairwell, replace and or install a new boiler at the fire station, install server room power upgrades, conduct a parking review for the police station, and begin planning for a new covered Parks and Public Works operations and storage facility. So additional projects may include remodeling the old library, air conditioners at City Hall, and exterior painting for several buildings. So in essence, as Mike suggested earlier, really we're focused on those really necessities overall with the $960,000 that we have, and within the city itself, we're prioritizing those. That's why we're coming with this to you. You can see how corroded it is. The next step is to get the fire station boiler, then we're going to figure out what project 3 and 4 and 5 may look like after that, depending on the amount of funding that we have available in this $960,000 that council decide during the budget.
Thank you. You answered my real question. I just didn't want us to fund it by first come, first serve versus fund it by priority and make all efforts to stay within the budget allocated. And you've told me how we're going to do that. Okay.
Yep, and I would say this is the priority just because the longer it doesn't get taken care of, the more steel is going to need replacing, and then it just drives cost up. I'm sorry, was I supposed to raise my hand?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I was reading mine.
I'm good.
Yep.
Good on consent.
Are you?
Councilperson Johnson has his hand up.
Councilman Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, if I thought about replacing the stairs in my house and someone says, oh, that's gonna be several $100,000, I might think twice about it, but I mean, the work has to get done, and if this is the best offer we're going to get, then I don't see too many options for us here. So yeah, I'm good with this. Let's go ahead and move it forward.
And are you thinking consent as well, Councilman Johnson?
I am fine with consent.
Okay, all right. We'll move it forward on consent.
You can always say no or take it off on council.
It's just, this, okay. All right. I'm satisfied with the conversation that we had, that everything's, yeah. All right, let's take a look at AB 23-034, early purchase authorization of Centennial Fields play equipment.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dylan Gamble, and I can give you a quick summation of 2334. This agenda bill is to allow, the agenda bill and resolution would allow us to purchase the play equipment at the Centennial Fields location, which is looking at a inclusive playground. And the current situation is we have developed all the designs. We have gone through the design review for the play equipment, and we are working towards a bid package that includes the play equipment itself, as well as all the site preparation and some other details about installation. Specifically, inclusive playground equipment will require a specialty installer that needs to be certified and inclusive equipment. It's a special certification. What we're trying to do with this request is to pull apart the contractor doing the purchasing of the equipment at the time of the bid award, and instead having the city directly purchase the equipment. There's two primary reasons we want to do this. The first is cost. Generally, when you have the contractor purchase the equipment, they will mark up the cost of the equipment. And if, in this case, the equipment being $606,000 approximately, the markup is pretty substantial. And in an effort to protect the limited budget that the project has and maintain the scope that we currently have, we went in this direction to try to control the cost of the project from getting any further. The other aspect of this is that there is some pretty sizable delays in timing for putting in from the day you purchase the equipment. So whenever the contractor were to purchase the equipment using a standard bid practice, I think my last recollection is we're somewhere around 20 weeks delay. So 20 weeks, it could be a bit more, depends on if you had specialty equipment, but that's not the case for us. They're thinking somewhere right around the 20 weeks. And if you're to do the math on that from right around today or next week, it brings us somewhere into July. And so the concern would be that if we do not work a little weirdly in terms of letting the contractor, if we pull that aside, what we can do is get a jump start on that timer so we have more flexibility in getting the contractor out, finalizing the project quicker, in addition to reducing some of the costs that the contractor would likely include within their bid when we were to go there. So this is only for the purchase of the equipment itself. This company is also likely to bid on being the installer, as they have a installation team that is certified for inclusive playground installation. So I know I've seen their bids, and so I roughly know how much they're going to cost, but it doesn't mean that the contractor will select them as a subconsultant. The remaining funds that we have here for, if you take 606 out of the 876, we're looking at 270,000 approximately. It looks to be that we're right on that line. So I was concerned that if we didn't start to find ways to control some of the costs, we would start to see concern for costs. So based on those elements, I'm bringing up this agenda bill to see if we can purchase the equipment early. I'll pause, but I can go ahead and pull up the equipment pictures and stuff like that.
I guess my question would be, contractors generally mark stuff up because that's part of the way that they make money. How is this contractor going to make up that lost income now that we've already purchased the? If we purchase the goods, are we going to be hit with something else in order to cover costs for the contractor, or will the contractor know in advance that he's an installer?
This is difficult for me to guess. I don't have any of the bids in my hand, but based on what this installer's, oh, I'm sorry, Mike, would you like to go first?
They'll definitely know in advance. That'll be part of the bid package. Technically, the markup should cover the costs of ordering the equipment. That's really what it's there for processing that order and everything else. They really shouldn't be putting profit on that item. So will we probably see a little elevated costs in the installation? That's quite possible, but to answer specifically, it's too early to tell. But they will definitely know at a time that the bid is only for the installation.
In coordinating with our designers and landscape structures, the firm that designed this play equipment, they both suggested that the easiest way to reduce some of the costs on the total project would be to pull the equipment aside from the contractor purchasing it. There is some level of difficulty that we add to this by doing this. For example, if there are major issues with contractor bidding later on, we have a timing window where we can only have this company holding this equipment in their warehouse for so many months before we start to run into issues. That's not likely to be a thing based on my communications with both this, the more national company, the Landscape Structures, as well as the shipping company. Both have a bit of flexibility and wiggle room and storage before it would end up on our shoulders, so to speak. If we didn't have the contractor ready to go and installing the equipment right away, that's part of the risk, I suppose. I don't see that to be a major concern at this time, but that is something that could happen. Doesn't seem likely.
So we don't have facilities where we could store it ourselves.
We don't have a warehouse.
Right.
We can accommodate storing it. Don would love to store it. He was telling me this morning how much he would love to store a playground in his shop.
You can play on it.
He would love me for that, for sure.
So we've also got some room back here, so yeah. Councilman Holloway, anything?
No, I think I'm concerned, but I think you're doing the right things to address the concern in that in doing this, you only have about $252,000 left. And you have a specialty installer, which usually comes with a premium. So yeah, I need to look at ways of reducing costs, and if we can take the overhead from the vendor for purchasing equipment, the processing time, and absorb it ourselves. Great.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. My only concern is that it makes the job less lucrative, and if we're having difficulty finding people to do jobs as it is, then my only concern is just not being able to locate somebody to do the job, because they're not going to get the extra gravy of the equipment purchase, which is not to say that we shouldn't do it. I mean, what's the percentage of markup usually?
Well, I don't know exactly, but the guess that I've heard is somewhere between 15 and 20%.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's over $100,000 if it gets up to 20. So, Mr. Chambliss?
So this project isn't grinding, welding, and painting, and pouring concrete and doing electrical. This is a playground. We haven't experienced difficulty in finding playground contractors.
Okay, so that's encouraging. Councilman Johnson, any thoughts?
Well, just same concern that it sounds tight, but I know that our citizens and regionally, everyone's really excited about this project. So, I think that even just the people who are going to be visiting our community and spending their dollars here could end up making up the difference if we end up going just a little bit over and getting the premium installer. So yeah, I think this is a wonderful thing, and I think that regardless, it shouldn't go on consent, because I think that this is a really good thing that we should be celebrating, that this project is moving forward. I think that our citizens want to hear about it, and the rest of the council would probably like to hear it too. I think this is generally just good news.
And my inclination is to never put it on consent, just so that people can complain that it's not on consent.
No, I would not put it on consent for the exact reasons Councilman Johnson said. It's good news.
We can do it for those reasons as well. Well, I'd say let's put it on non-consent. All right.
Good stuff.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Is that all the things? That's all the things, isn't it?
That's all the things.
That was too
We
easy.
did all the things. Well, unless anybody has anything else. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.